Hello, my name is Austin Basham. First thing I want to do is apologize for the recording audio. My laptop actually messed up when I went to record this, so I'm using my friend's laptop and hers has this weird ringing noise in the background, so I hope it doesn't hurt your ears too bad. So today I'm going to be talking about artificial intelligence, how it started, um, where it is in today's society, and the future of it. So let's get started. So, first off, what is artificial intelligence? So, obviously, I have the dictionary definition right here, but I'm going to kind of break it down in a simpler terminology, I guess. So, think about a parent and a child. When the child first comes out, it's a baby. It doesn't really know anything yet. So the parent kind of teaches it, takes it by the hand. Well, let's throw in encodes stuff into it, kind of plants a seed for it to learn. Well, as the baby develops, it starts to learn. It starts to be able to take in the environment around it and analyze it and make its own decisions and make its own problem solving and things like that. It's basically what AI is for computers. So we can encode stuff into the computers and it can learn from that code and, make its own decisions and problem solving. Sometimes better than humans, even. So let's look at the history. So the idea of AI started in 1950. So a young man by the name of Alan Turing suggested that if humans can use information for decision making and problem solving, why can't machines? He published that in 1950. So, as you would imagine, computers at the time weren't really capable of this. They didn't have the fast processing times. Uh, they were able to do commands, but they couldn't retain what they just did. So you'd have to do it again for it. So you were just doing everything for the computer. Another big thing about this time is computers were very expensive and also really hard to obtain. They're really hard to get a hold of. For example, I know in 1950 it was about $200,000 to just lease a computer. So you're looking at the top of the top people, uh, big universities and huge tech companies and people like that were the only ones with even access to a computer. So before you could start getting funding and stuff, someone reputable had to come in and like change the mind of everyone and spark an interest, which starts the logic theorists. So about 5 years later, this proof of concept called the logic theorist was made. It was a program designed to mimic the problem solving skills of a human, and this was considered to be the first AI program. So that sparked a lot of interest. You're looking at a computer that can think and solve a problem. So this was presented at Dartmouth Summer Research Project on Artificial Intelligence. This event was hosted by John McCarthy and Marvin Minsky. It was a really big deal because it brought all these people in from various fields and various researchers in all to just look at AI. Excuse me. But it wasn't as successful as McCarthy thought it was going to be. I read that people were kind of just coming in and out as they please. No one was really glued to their seat. But it did spark some interest and show everyone, hey, AI is achievable. It's an achievable goal. So the aftermath of this, for the next 20 years, we're looking at computers becoming a lot more faster, more accessible, and cheaper. So there's a lot more people messing around with computers. And this eventually is going to lead to government funding because the learning algorithms and stuff were just getting a lot better. Uh, Newell and Simon came out with a general problem solver along with Joseph Weizenbaum, excuse me, And his program actually showed the promise of interpretation of spoken language. So, not necessarily translating like the way Google does now, but that's what he was on the brink of. And this was enough to convince government agencies such as the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, DARPA, to fund AI research at several institutions. So that was a pretty big deal to finally get that funding. So still though, there's still some obstacles. Computers weren't fast enough just yet to have the power to do anything really substantial. They couldn't even store enough information or process it fast enough. So yeah, the government funding kind of slowed down. They got impatient and pretty much stopped for the next 10 years. And then in 1980s, it was reignited by two different sources. One was an expansion of the algorithmic, I can't say that word, toolkit, and that boosted funds, but also John Hopfield and David Rumelhart popularized deep learning, which allowed computers to learn using experience, just like we were talking about with the parent and child. The parent, starts to teach the child, and then the child learns from his own experiences. And that's what's starting to go on. And then expert systems were introduced. Now, this was a big game changer because it mimicked the decision-making process of a human expert. What that means is the program would ask an expert in the field, how do I respond to a given situation? And once this was learned for every situation possible, non-experts could come in and get advice from the program. So, they were learning from the computer. This then sparked an interest from the Japanese government that came up with the fifth generation computer project. From 1982 to 1990, they invested $400 million. That's a lot of money. So they were looking for some big goals to be accomplished. But still, the computers just weren't quite there yet. They just couldn't do it. So AI once again falls back into the limelight. But when I was reading, they actually said that this kind of sparked the next generation of scientists and people that wanted to work on this stuff. So finally, we start getting some developments. AI, despite the lack of government funding and really a huge interest, finally started making some headway. In 1997, the reigning world chess champion was defeated by IBM's Deep Blue, a chess playing program. This might not sound like a big deal, but at the time, this was a huge deal because it finally showed, hey, we got someone to lose a world champion to a computer. That's a huge, huge deal. In the same year, 1997, speech recognition software was developed by Windows. It was called Dragon Systems. This was a big leap forward in the direction of the spoken language interpretation endeavor. At this time, everyone was like, oh, what can't these machines do? Even human emotion was starting to kind of be shown. Alright, so now we're going to look at Moore's Law. So you got to think back in the 70s when everyone started getting first excited and the government funded AI programs. It just wasn't fast enough. But with Moore's Law, it says that memory and speed of computers will double every year. This is seen to be true. They say it might slow down soon, but who really knows? But, Moore's Law kind of is what brought us to where we're at today. Everything is changing at such a fast rate. That's why every year, we're having new iPhones, new this, new that. You might buy something today, and tomorrow there's probably going to be something brand new that's better than what you just bought in the technology world. It's honestly really, really crazy. So, how has this changed our life? Well, first of all, let's talk about big data since that's the age we're in. We're in big data. Big data allows us to collect large amounts of data and process it like we normally wouldn't be able to. So, when you're thinking about big data, you're going to be thinking about social media like Twitter, Instagram, banking, marketing, entertainment. I'm a finance major. Big data is a huge thing because it allows you to bring in all this data, analyze it, pull trends that you wouldn't normally be able to because there's just so much data there. And that is a huge, huge deal. So, just think about the ads and stuff you get on social media. That's all because big data is honestly selling your data. But, okay, so day-to-day life pretty much changed every aspect. I can't think of very much stuff that doesn't have to do with technology right now. Look at the example. If you need to translate something, just ask Siri. Who would have ever thought that 30, 40, 50 years ago that you would just be translating something without having to learn a language? Okay, so next we're just going to look at the conclusion of AI has changed our society and a world in a way no one saw coming 80 years ago. It's made everything so much more efficient, like everything. It's crazy. So the future. So right now, today's AI is called narrow AI. I'm going to start talking really fast or I'm going to run out of time. Sorry. So narrow AI is referred to as weak AI, which is basically a Tesla is focusing on driving the car by itself. That's all it's focused on. Google searches, it's all the recommendations and stuff, it's all just focused on that one thing. But in the future, we're looking at building general AI, which is referred to as strong AI. This is crazy. This is some crazy stuff. So general AI is like basically a computer or a machine or a robot that is going to be able to do everything. It's going to be able to outdo humans even like at literally basically every task. This pretty much brings up the dangers of AI. Do we want something in our world that is going to outperform every single human? Like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? And that's what a lot of discussions have been about in my readings is, do we keep pursuing this? Have we not done enough so far? You have big figures like Elon Musk saying no, it would be censorship basically if we stopped building our AI and trying to make it as strong as possible. And then you have other people saying, well, they could have you can put them in the hands of the wrong people. You know what I mean? Look at these theories. So first we're going to look at I.J. Good. In 1965, said that designing smarter AI systems itself is a cognitive task. So basically what it's saying is these AI systems are going to be able to keep doing it itself and building themselves, which is all this crazy theory. Like, I don't know. I don't know what my opinions are about it. But there's also many benefits for us to create strong AI. Like, it could literally eradicate diseases and end wars and end things like world hunger because it's just such a supreme intelligence. Then we have you get into the wrong hands, it could kill people. But it really just comes down to our goals and the way we want to look at AI and in the future. It's all a question of ethics. Should we keep going or should we not? Okay, so since I'm running out of time, I'm just going to go ahead with a conclusion. In conclusion, AI has already changed our world for the better, making everyday life more efficient. I do believe that, but some of the stuff I read about seemed pretty crazy. But here are all my sources, all 20 of them, some YouTube videos.